What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday. Hope everybody is having a great start to your day. And we are going to talk about the Titans and where they sit with the AFC Contenders in the conference, getting a lot stronger. And the Titans, are they staying the same? Are they even going a little bit backwards? But we're here to talk about how we think the Titans have put themselves in a very delicate situation heading into the draft season as we really close out week one of NFL free agency. So here live to discuss that on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Then we'll discuss which of the couple of teams that we think are all right with the Titans in delicate situations of AFC contenders and find out who is the most delicate right now, as a lot of movement has happened over the last several days in the NFL and a lot of AFC West strength building up. A lot of other AFC teams are loading up their rosters, and the Titans still unloading guys rather than re-signing guys or signing free agents. Then we'll talk about Deshaun Watson, because a couple teams have been eliminated, so to speak, from the Deshaun Watson trade sweepstakes, and it looks like it's down to two teams, the Saints or the Falcons. So where will the Houston Texans quarterback get traded to? And it is a Friday, so ain't that good news? What is your good news this week? We'll wrap up the week with good news like we do every Friday. But Zach, welcome in. The first time all week that we've been on the show together. But it's been a long week, but ready to wrap this thing up, and some good basketball that happened yesterday. Hopefully good basketball again today as we get deeper into March Madness.
Yeah, here's two bits of good news. Murray State, who I would sleep last night with like 4 minutes left to go in the second half, thinking that I won my parlay, and I woke up this morning and realized it went into overtime. And so I'm kind of glad I didn't get through that anxiety, but I did hit my 4-leg parlay. A to Z Sports Picks got you covered. They hit a big parlay yesterday.
Yep.
So, this is good news all around. And as you said, Austin, the band's back together. This is the first time this week that A and Z have been on this program, this morning show. So look, all things headed north, not south, heading into the weekend. We got a lot to talk about. I don't know about the AFC South, but we got a lot to talk about when it comes to the NFL and the soap opera and drama that have been going on for weeks and weeks as Roger Goodell just fills up his vault in the NFL of stacking money based on news and based on a lot of things. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We will tweet out the YouTube links at A to Z Sports, so give us a follow there. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. That's the best way. You can watch the morning show. It's easy, it's simple, it is quick. Plus, you can ring that bell and have live notifications send right to your door. So all of a sudden, you know when we go live, whether it's the primetime show, whether it's podcasts, whether we got tons of content going out. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button right now. And also on Facebook. What's going on Facebookers? More people will pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you guys do, please share the broadcast, share the show. Bottom left corner, we've got a ton of things to talk about. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. So let's get this party started on a Friday and close out this week strong here on A to Z Sports.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Nashville's On-Demand Sports Talk Network. We got to thank our sponsors before we officially get going, because they help you guys out and they make it possible for us. Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the area at renterswarehouse.com. Wilson County Hyundai, check them out and make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. So, Zach, I'll go ahead and say part of my good news at the end of the show will be watching Kentucky lose to 15 seed St. Peter's last night in overtime after you weren't on the show, but on Wednesday, I threw shade at Kentucky fans tweeting me after losing to Tennessee in the semifinals of the SEC tournament saying, the Cats just want bigger prizes. only to lose to St. Peter's in the first round. So we move on from that and talk about, we'll get to good news later on, but we'll get to the Titans situation where it seems like every AFC team is making significant moves to improve their roster. And while the Titans did re-sign Harold Landry to a big contract, and they re-signed Ben Jones to a nice extension to keep him in Nashville as their center for the next couple of years, the Titans have cut a lot of players. Roger Saffold, Jack Rabbit Jenkins, who was going to be a cut regardless, and then Julio Jones, Darrington Evans, and they really haven't done anything by bringing guys in. And so you watch each day on social media to see Titans fans get antsier and antsier when it comes to watching all these other teams. And lately it was Devontae Adams being traded to the Raiders, and the AFC West just continues to get stronger. And the Titans are right here, not really doing much, but Titans fans are trying to stay patient. But to me, it feels like the Titans are putting themselves in a spot where they were the 1 seed last year in the AFC. And everybody else is bolstering and getting their weapons even stronger. And the Titans seem like they might miss out on something.
Well, a lot of moving pieces have happened in the AFC and the NFC. I mean, just the NFL as a whole. And the Titans have concentrated. And honestly, look, whether it will work or not, we'll find out. But the Titans have been true to what they believe in and have told us that they believe in even before free agency started, right? John Robinson doubling down, tripling down on Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback, then going out and re-signing their guy, which was a highly sought-out free agent in a pass rusher on Harold Landry. They've taken care of business. The restructure of Zach Cunningham, which I love. That's my favorite move besides Harold Landry, because that's the biggest move. That was my favorite move so far by the Titans. Then the Julio Jones, which was justified. It's not necessarily a surprise of how bad he played last year and not in his lack of availability. So the Titans have stayed true to themselves. And you have to remember, and it's easily forgotten because the Titans got bounced the first game they played in the playoffs because Ryan Tannehill threw 3 picks, but they were the number 1 seed in the AFC, right? They still believe that, and that was without Derrick Henry for a lot of the season. That was without A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. That was with injuries, right? Peppered across their offensive line throughout the course of the year. Lewan was in and out at the beginning of the year, right? So they had to deal with a lot of things, as we know. I still think in the Titans' minds, they believe if we stay the course and we stay the path, the Titans think that they have the pieces. Maybe they need some additions, small additions, but I think that showing their hand that they think that they have enough to go win a Super Bowl, because that's the goal. Well, I don't necessarily believe it, but that's what they believe.
Well, there's a couple comments that I wanted to get to before we dive in and get into the first comment that we have. G-Man says, Austin, please comment on the Julio release since I was off yesterday. Yeah, so the Julio Jones thing, and I said this Wednesday when I was talking with Luke about this, because I was going after everybody who was saying the Titans should go sign Juju or Jarvis Landry, and it made no sense to sign those guys unless you thought the team should move away from Julio Jones. I get the financial reasoning of moving away from Julio Jones. In my opinion, I would have kept Julio for 1 more year and see how that plays out. Because I was curious to see what Tannehill and Julio could build on with actually having a legitimate offseason working together, unlike the situation last year where Julio got hurt for training camp, and then when Julio came back, Tannehill got COVID and was out for 2 weeks, and there was no foundation laid. I wanted to see those 2 guys work and build a foundation this summer to see what it can become in the fall. But the Titans said it's better to save $9.5 million by moving on from Julio and finding somebody else who could be more reliable.
And so my 2 cents on that is they obviously felt, as you just said, he wasn't worth the money. He wasn't worth the squeeze. And I think that they found out more about Julio over the last, several months, right, that he's been in the facility, that made them move away. If he was just a perfect guy and still had it and they believed it and he was worth it, they wouldn't have cut him. There's a reason why. It's not just money. It had to have been what they projected him to do on the field, and they believed that he could not do what they were going to pay him to do. So
Right.
there's an underlying thing that we don't know because we're not in the facility. I truly believe that took into account of why they released him when they did.
Yeah, so I would like to personally thank Julio Jones for all the A to Z Sports TikTok views we got out of him for the short time he was a Titan, because that definitely helped our business. And then going on, Titans Kyle brings up a comment about the Titans offseason moving forward, because you mentioned that John Robinson doubled down, triple down, quadruple down on Ryan Tannehill being the Titans quarterback, and still we're getting DMs on A to Z Instagram. Are the Titans going to trade for Baker Mayfield? And there was a comment in the comment section today saying, are the Titans going to trade for Baker? Could you think of the Mayfield and AJ combo? No, the Titans are not going to trade for Baker Mayfield. Ryan Tannehill is going to be the quarterback in 2020. And then this is where Titans Kyle's comment comes in, because we talked about all the moves the Titans are making and cutting guys. And Titans Kyle says, except they told us, the Titans said that they have to be better around Tannehill, and they've done nothing to accomplish that. And that's where I want to get to with this conversation, because I think the Titans have put themselves in a very delicate situation, because they're talking about all the ways that they have to be better around Ryan Tannehill to get to where they want to go, because Tannehill and Todd Downing were unable to get them there with the group they had last year. The defense is set, right? The front four, the band's back together. David Long, and now you've got Zach Cunningham restructured. They're together. The secondary with your safeties of Byard and Hooker, you've got them. The corners are young, but you like the ability and the ceiling of Fulton and Molden, and you're rolling the dice on Caleb Farley, but you drafted first round to do that. So the defense looks great, but the offense, who are you throwing to? You're not throwing to Jeff Swain. You're not throwing 50 completions to Nick Westbrook-Akine. You shouldn't. And so who are you throwing to? And who is the guy to replace Roger Saffold? And so the delicate situation is, like Titans Kyle said, build around Ryan Tannehill and be better around Ryan Tannehill. And they have not done anything so far that has shown us that they're building around Ryan Tannehill. They've created room. And so the delicate situation, Zach, is all of the cuts are justifiable. Cutting Saffold to save 10.5, justified. Cutting Julio to save 9.5, justified. Cutting Jackrabbit to save 7, absolutely. Cutting Kendall Lamb, the easiest decision you can make, to save 3.3. But who are you bringing in? And the delicate situation is, you moved on from dudes who could help you. Who are you going to bring in, and how reliable are they going to be? And can they help Ryan Tannehill as new faces in this locker room?
So we're about to talk about delicate situations. And I think that to clear the air, all three of these teams that we are going to discuss are in delicate situations. And we'll talk about why. You just discussed why the Titans are. I think you got to throw the Colts in because they've whiffed on a lot of their quarterbacks. They traded away Carson Wentz, and they're sitting there with Sam Ehlinger, right? The Browns, because of the saga that them going on and flirting with a new girl named Deshaun Watson, and then backing up and saying, hey, the date didn't go as well as we wanted it to go. We still love you, baby. That has not worked out very well so far because of Baker Mayfield's personality and that entire situation. All three of these teams are in the AFC, the Browns, the Colts, and the Titans. Now, delicate situations now. I'm curious to hear what the chat has to say. I think you're talking about the delicate situation now, but it's really about the future. Does it stay delicate? Can the Titans do something where it is less delicate? Can the Colts do something where it's less delicate? Can the Browns do something that is less delicate? So I think that is the biggest point on what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And here's the caveat. And I do have to say this. The Titans are competing for a Super Bowl. I don't necessarily believe in my heart that the Colts and the Browns are. I think that the Colts and the Browns are quality teams, but they're not in the upper echelon. I think the Titans are probably in the lower of the upper echelon, but we're not talking about Russell Wilson and the Broncos now. We're not talking about the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen and the Bills, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens when healthy. And now you got the Raiders with Devontae Adams. Who knows what Derek Carr and that old marriage, now new marriage is going to happen. So the AFC is very powerful. There's been a huge shift, especially with Tom Brady's probably last year after this year, right? That's going to fill a gap. We don't know where Deshaun Watson's going to go because we'll talk about that later. But let's talk about these delicate situations and find out which team is in the most delicate situation.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Titans, Colts, and Browns, which AFC contenders in the most delicate situation. But let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, know who to go to, know who to trust, boneandjointtn.org. A dozen plus doctors there at their facility who specialize in any joint type of injury that you have, and they'll get you back to health. Zach and I have both been to the Bone and Joint Institute for whatever injuries or delicate situations we've been in the past. So check them out, boneandjointtn.org. They're fantastic campus in Franklin, also satellite campuses in Brentwood, Thompson Station, and in Nolensville. Again, boneandjointtn.org.
If you watched any, which you should if you were breathing, any March Madness yesterday, man, it was good. But I do want to tell you about this. For college basketball, BetMGM is your place to go. Use the promo code, and this is the best part. Use the promo code BetMGM ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200 for a $10 moneyline wager to win $200 when either team hits a three-pointer. Threes were flying yesterday. Threes are flying today. This is a great opportunity to sign up. If you haven't signed up, you're a new user, ATOZ200, and essentially you can win $200 by just placing a $10 money line wager if any team hits a three-pointer. I mean, this is money in the bank right there at BetMGM. Download the app today.
All right, so which AFC contender is in the most delicate situation between the Titans, the Browns, or the Colts? And so I'm going to go ahead and read some comments. Cody on YouTube says Titans. Steven says Titans. Browns from Deborah. Browns from Louis. Anthony says the Colts. Eric said the Titans keep creating holes but aren't filling those holes. Tim says the Titans offensive roster as of today is not a Super Bowl contender, which, yeah, but again, this season doesn't start today. That's something that we have to remember, is that the Titans are not done with this. The Titans are still in their planning purposes. And I believe John Robinson has a plan and Mike Vrabel have a plan. It's just, we don't know what that plan is. So it's hard to look at that, but the season does not start today. David says Cleveland. Nick says the Titans because they're the only one of the three that were a playoff team. And that's where I'll stop. I think it's the Titans because one of that. The Titans weren't just the only playoff team of the three that we're talking about, but they were the number one seed. They were the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They were the only AFC team to get a bye, and they worked their ass off to get there. The most injured team in football history, losing Derrick Henry for 9 games, having AJ and Julio battle injuries multiple times throughout the season. The offensive line didn't play a full game together until like week 13. And the defense, everything, they weren't getting rookie input for the second year in a row. They worked so hard to get that 1 seed. And so they have the most to lose. The Titans do, because they've got the most expensive quarterback of these teams. They have the most expensive running back of these teams. They're probably the oldest roster of the team because they've been with this core for such a long time. The Titans have the most to lose. Therefore, they are the most delicate situation in the entire AFC. And who are they going to replace these big name starters with? Saffold, Julio, and Jackrabbit were all good players when they were on the field for the team. Were all three as productive as you would have liked them to be? No. But when they were there, they were pretty good. Jackrabbit had a good year. I know everybody, it was easy to pick on Jackrabbit, and I was guilty of that. But he had a good year. But now he's gone, and now you're relying on Caleb Farley and some other young players to step up. Saffold, the same thing. And Julio,
no. Wrong on Julio. He did not. When he was in there, he did not have a great year or a good year. He had a bad year.
Okay, I never said that he had a great year, but again,
he had a bad year. He didn't have a good year. I think that's the premise. So 2 out of the 3 guys, I agree with you, but Julio had a bad year.
all right, but then now you're looking at the whole pass catching group. It's like you lose Julio because I feel like most of us thought this. AJ, Julio as your top two receivers. You can draft a receiver in the first round and have that rookie first rounder be your second/third guy with Julio a part of the picture. Now that Julio's gone, there's a lot more weight on that first round pick. And there's a lot more weight on Nick Westbrook-Akine and whoever else they sign in free agency.
But Austin, you just contradicted yourself. You said that it can't be as delicate as some other teams because they have time. There's still guys out there, right? You're not the Colts trying to find your quarterback. You're not Baker and that whole situation. Austin, the Tennessee Titans are in the best spot out of these three teams. If they go out and get Juju Smith-Schuster today, you're completely different. You change your mind instantly.
I don't necessarily like Juju, but
okay.
I'm
Jarvis
not
Landry.
I mean,
they draft your Penn State guy. You completely change your mind.
Well,
I don't want as delicate as the other two.
Well, I wanted the Titans to keep Julio. I thought it made football sense to keep Julio, and then the draft. Maybe if Jameson Williams drops you at 26, I like that idea because that gets Jameson Williams ready for your December or November and playoff push. But now you can't draft Jameson Williams, and Jameson Williams might be Devontae Adams in 3 years. And now because you move on from Julio, you might have cost yourself that opportunity.
It's not worth $9.5 million in their situation.
No, I know. Justifiable. I know. But the reason why the Titans are delicate is because they were at the top, and now they're playing catch up because everybody else is moving right past them. They are delicate. They're not the most delicate.
I think they go out and get a veteran wide receiver and Austin Hooper. You change your mind immediately, Austin, instantly.
Right, but my point is
they're not delicate. Not as much as these three teams, the other two.
All right. When we talk about the Titans, the Colts, and the Browns, the reason why I think the Titans are the most delicate is because they were at the top and the Browns and the Colts were not playoff teams. And so the Browns and the Colts are forced to make these changes to be able to get themselves better than where they were a year ago because they both failed. They both came up short of their goals. The Titans reached their initial goal of winning the division, and then they had the number one seed, and then they busted it in the playoffs by throwing 3 picks and losing to the Bengals. And so now the Titans are having to strip and rework the offense in a situation where they can't afford to take a step back. And so there's a lot of risk with what the Titans are doing because they have the most to lose. They cannot whiff. They have to hit on every tight end, wide receiver, draft pick, or free agent signing. The Titans got to hit. There is no wiggle room to miss in those positions because of what's happened this past year and what you've already done this offseason.
Austin, I think you could say that the Titans are more naive than delicate. They're naive in the sense that they think that Ryan Tannehill is the guy. They believe in him 100%. They're chips all in. So they believe that their quarterback is good enough to win them a Super Bowl. They've told us that. So they're naive in that thinking. Yeah. So if they think that, their moves are based upon that thought process. You got to think about that.
Okay, funny comment, because Zach, before the show, you said, Austin, you're going to be the bad guy today. And then David Haynes comes in and says, as usual, Zach sees the glass half full, Austin not so much.
But I'm not even saying that. I'm saying the Titans see the glass half full.
Yes. Right. And
but that's the difference, Austin, where all of their moves are based on their centerpiece of Ryan Tannehill being their guy and them believing in him. So they don't think that they have a problem. Everybody in the chat, and probably, I can't speak for you, but I believe that Ryan Tannehill will not win them a Super Bowl, won't lead them to a Super Bowl. He doesn't have the it factor, the elite factor. He can't play. He throws 3 picks instead of 3 touchdowns in the playoffs. So that I think is a key caveat to this entire conversation, because when you talk about delicate situations, my answer is the Cleveland Browns, because they screwed the pooch this week. They completely ruined the trajectory of their franchise. Baker Mayfield is the kid in class that can go AWOL and say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, right? He's kind of can go both ways. What did they do? They sat there and they screwed Baker over this week by literally floating out the idea of Deshaun Watson on purpose. Baker did exactly what they thought that he would do. I don't know why they did this. He gets his panties in a wad, gets upset, and says, look, thank you, Cleveland. Then they come back and say, hey, we're out of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes because they're an AFC team. They weren't going to get him anyway. That was stupid on the Browns. And now there's turmoil at the most important position. It's not lack of quarterback. The Colts, they have lack of quarterback they're just in a bad spot. They're not indelicate. They're just bad. The Titans believe their situation is good. Ryan likes the Titans. The Titans like Ryan. Baker doesn't like Cleveland, and Cleveland doesn't like Baker. That's the most delicate situation because at the end of the day, the Browns, no, they were not a playoff team last year, but a lot of that was due to injury. 2 years ago, they advanced. They went further than the Titans because they lost to Lamar Jackson at home. The Baker at least won. He beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. So the Browns believe that they are in the same conversation as the Titans, but their quarterback situation, the most important position in team sport, is in complete turmoil. You talk about delicate. The Browns are back where the Browns usually are. They're just a little bit better, right? They're usually at the bottom of the AFC. Now they're like probably mid-tier. But I think this, to kind of wrap that up, the reason why we're talking about these three teams, the Titans, the Colts, and the Browns, so many teams have jumped them with off-season moves. The reason why I don't think that the Titans are as delicate, they can go sign Austin Hooper or sign Jarvis Landry or draft a first-round wide receiver, and you still feel better about them. Cleveland Brown fans will never feel good about Baker Mayfield and that entire situation from here until he plays in another jersey. It's facts.
I'm about to make a reference that I think the older crowd that watches the show will be very impressed with. Because you said, how do you describe Baker Mayfield, the kid in class that what?
That says yes sir, yes ma'am, and then is a menace behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's Eddie Haskell. I don't know how many Leave It to Beaver fans we've got going on here.
I wouldn't say a lot,
but Eddie Haskell is exactly who Baker is.
But he's always been Eddie Haskell.
Yeah.
And the teacher, in this case the Browns, know that he's Eddie Haskell, and they still messed with him, and they got the exact reaction that they thought. Exact reaction. So that situation is so, let's just call it what it is so ass backwards in the NFL. It's one of the worst spots to be in. The Houston Texans may be in a better spot because at least they've got a guy that they can trade away and get somebody else for and start rebuilding. The Browns, man, they're in a tough situation. Nobody wants to be the Cleveland Browns right now. Browns fans don't even want to be the Cleveland Browns right now. They hate it.
Yeah, no, that is very true about the Browns fans. I'm not denying that. Again, I just think the Titans have so much to lose here. And I did see before, I got to scroll up all the different comments. I did see where the Titans, they're having to make, they understood that they have to make changes on offense, but they're doing it in a way where I don't know who they're going to fix it with. And I was talking to, we'll talk about this later, but my grandfather's funeral was yesterday. And afterwards at the celebration, I was talking to some Titans fans that were there. And, everybody was saying like, you can justify every cut. It's just, who are they going to replace the cut with? And that's the roll of the dice that is a delicate situation of not knowing who is going to be those replacements and what the ceiling is of those replacements and the immediate impact of those replacements, because that's the tough spot there. How many rookies are you going to rely on the offensive line and at wide receiver and tight end? Because
without a second round pick.
Without a second round pick. Exactly. Yeah.
But here, Austin, and this is my prediction. It is Friday. By Monday, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. By next Wednesday, the Titans will have a player through free agency that these fans like. They will.
You think so?
They will be singing a different tune, and it will be either a wide receiver or a tight end or both. It will happen. That's why I say the delicate situation will turn not as delicate pretty quick. I'm giving it what? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 6 days. I've given them 6 days to turn this delicate situation that they're in presently into less of a delicate situation, and I believe that they will do that.
Who? I want you to name some names because we haven't talked for a long time. Because I want you to name some names. All right, so but after you or before you name names, you can name Farm Bureau health plans and tell how much money they're saving you right now.
Yeah, well, they save money on Julio Jones. I save money every month by going to Farm Bureau health plans, right? And I didn't have to cut anybody. Well, actually, I did. I cut my old health plan. I said, "See you later." They are the Julio Jones. They weren't healthy. They weren't as healthy as I wanted them to be last year. And so, what did I do? I said, "Hey, Farm Bureau health plans. Let's see what you got. Do you have better coverage? Do you have better rates? Do you have better service?" Well, the results are in, Maury. Yes, and yes. That is not a lie. I have proven that, and they have proven that to me. I'm saving over 20% per month on my rate. My coverage is better. They give me a contact allowance. I got contacts. I've been wearing contacts since 7th grade. Now I'm getting them paid for with this health plan. My pearly whites, oh yeah, those are getting cleaned for free. Yeah, free. It's a better plan, and I've gotten better service. I've talked to multiple individuals. So how do you become a part of this plan? Hey, come on. The more the merrier. All you got to do, fbhp.com/A to Z. That's fbhp.com/A to Z. Go online, you fill out a survey, then you get a quick, essentially a assessment of your health. You get the quote, boom. Free and easy down the road you go. fbhp.com/A to Z.
Don't forget, download the BetMGM app. You can win money. Zach just saved you money there, but you can win money with BetMGM, and you can get started the right way. Use code ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200. You place a $10 moneyline wager on any game today. There's 16 games in college basketball today. A $10 moneyline wager on any game, and regardless of that bet's outcome, you win $200 when either team in that game hits a three-point shot, which is going to happen. So that's free $200 for you to get to your bankroll started with the BetMGM app. And A to Z Sports Picks coming up at 10:30 Central Time this morning before tip-off of all the games today in college hoops. That's with the BetMGM app. So, Zach, you say you give the Titans 6 days to sign somebody who will make the Titans fan base feel better about where they are right now, especially offensively. So who is this person that you think the Titans will sign that will all be going, okay, deep breath, everything's better?
So I believe let's start with the tight end position, because I'm going to start with the guy that I think that they should go after. And I do think that now that Austin Hooper has been released and he fits your mold, Austin. We talk a lot about the tight end position, a guy that can do two things, right? Austin Hooper can block, but he also can catch if given the ability. I think he proved with his contract with the Browns, he's probably not tight end like one. I mean, he's not Travis Kelce or George Kittle in that even conversation.
He had a big contract to go to Cleveland a few years ago, though.
Right. And maybe was that Baker not utilizing him as well? I don't know. Was that because they liked running the football with Nick Chubb? I don't know. But I think Austin Hooper, he's 27 years old. You give him the money, you cut Julio Jones, and you value the tight end position, because I think Ryan Tannehill, who's going to be your quarterback, will value the tight end position. So I look at Austin Hooper at tight end. I also think that maybe you can look at Eric Ebron out of Pittsburgh. He was drafted by the Lions. He's kind of a dual threat that can block, a big body, but really is a pass-catching tight end. He's not great, but you're not going to find great tight ends at this point in free agency. They're all either franchise tagged or re-signed with their team. So I look at Austin Hooper or Eric Ebron when it comes to the tight end position, which I think, what do you feel about those? I'll let you react to those.
I like Hooper more than Ebron. Ebron was complaining about the Titans getting COVID and making it where he couldn't go to his daughter's birthday party because the bye week changed a couple years ago.
Well, COVID's over, so that's good.
But I think Eric Ebron's soft. That's my point. Is I don't think Eric Ebron. I mean, again, I think he's a little older. He's been in the league for a bit. He's probably more on the downside of the backside of his career, as they say, where Austin Hooper, I think, still has a lot more left in the tank than Ebron. I think Gerald Everett makes a lot of sense. Robert Tonyan, who we talked about earlier in the week a little bit, is still out there. And
he's like coming off of an injury.
He is, but his ACL
his
ACL tear was early in the season. So it's something where you think time is on your side with Tonyan. And Robert Tonyan lives in Ashland City, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville. So he could just drive 30 minutes to the facility every day instead of have to move in the offseason. So I like Everett and Hooper and Tonyan more than Eric Ebron. So, people are going to have their opinions on who they prefer to have, but I would think the Packers, now that they just shipped away Devontae Adams, probably need to go re-sign Robert Tonyan to make Aaron Rodgers a little bit less mad.
So I think there's two approaches with the wide receiver position. I think that you have to talk to and go after Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham Jr., and Jarvis Landry.
You can't do Odell. You can't do Odell. He tore his ACL a month ago.
That's
right?
fair. So OBJ's off the table. You're correct. So you're down to pretty much two, I guess. You're down to Juju Smith-Schuster, who I think that the Packers will probably target to replace Devontae Adams, and he wants to go to a big market because he's coming from Pittsburgh, right? Jarvis Landry is at least used to a smaller market in Cleveland, right? Jarvis Landry wants and I think has become a number 2 wide receiver in his time in Cleveland, right? I think Jarvis Landry would fit very nicely as a complement piece to A.J. Brown. I think that if I could pick right now with players available at the wide receiver position, I think Jarvis Landry would be my pick. You're either going to go for those top tier guys, and if you miss because you're the Tennessee Titans and maybe people don't want to go to Nashville, I think that you're going to have to take a two-pronged approach at the wide receiver spot. You're going to have to go get a guy like, I don't know, Keenan Cole or Sammy Watkins, and then go draft a first-round wide receiver. And you're going to have to go A.J. Brown, go get your tight end, and then you're upgraded at the wide receiver spot as far as talent with a first-round wideout that has a ton to prove because he's coming into the league, and a guy like Keenan Cole or Sammy Watkins that has experience that can be in third down spots that can go out and get first downs for Ryan Tannehill and run good routes.
Yeah. And I liked Keelan Cole last year in free agency. When the Titans signed Josh Reynolds, I thought Cole made some sense there. He's more of your slot guy. And so if I had an ideal path for the Titans to take March 18th towards the draft, it's priority number 1 is to go sign Hooper or Tonyan or Everett. Yeah,
it's Hooper. That's the guy they must sign. And we talked about the whole reason why we're in this conversation is to make Titans fans at least excited or less worried about their delicate spot. Hooper would do that because they've now gotten the tight end that they missed in Jonnu Smith the first 5 games before Lewan tore his ACL. They really haven't had a quality tight end since that moment in time.
Yeah, sure. So, all right. So again, number 1 priority now moving forward is sign the free agent tight end that can be your tight end 1, who is not Jeff Swain. Second is I don't think you're going to find your ideal number 2 wide receiver in free agency. I think you have to draft that guy at 26. But you still need veteran presence in this wide receiver group who is reliable. And who is that? Of the available guys, I mean, the guys up top are Jarvis, Will Fuller. Will Fuller's unreliable, can't stay healthy. Jamison Crowder, I don't think he's the right fit. He's more of a undersized slot guy, kind of like Keelan Cole. It's not Emmanuel Sanders. Is it Cole Beasley? I don't personally think Juju Smith-Schuster is that type of guy either. But now that Julio's gone, I like it more. So I guess out of that crop, Juju and Landry are the best options, but I still don't like them because I don't like the price you're going to have to pay to get them.
And I don't think the odds are in their favor of getting them.
Well, somebody on a sports book had the Titans as the highest non-Pittsburgh odds for Juju earlier in the week. And so.
Yeah, that was before the Packers did what they did yesterday, right? I think the Packers are going to play for Juju.
Potentially. So again, like those, you're just not in a good spot for veteran wide receivers. And Zach Pascal, Sammy Watkins, Keelan Cole, like that level guy, Demarcus Robinson, who's been in Kansas City for a few years, like you might as well bring back Marcus Johnson too while you're at it to fill out your depth, because then after you sign Hooper or other big tight end, you sign a veteran wide receiver for depth. And then you go draft wide receiver in the first round. You draft a tight end probably in your third round. And then you fill out, the rest of your draft picks with offensive line and some cornerbacks. And that's really how I feel about this thing. You have to draft a wide receiver in the first round now. There is no other option.
Yeah, they've forced themselves with the Julio thing, right? I mean, they've done this to themselves. So they knew once they released Julio that the first round pick. And they signed Harold Landry, right? I mean, that was huge to not have that massive hole. And because you're going to go up against elite quarterbacks all season long. We've gone through it. It is the green mile. It's not the baby blue mile. It's not the light blue. It's not the two-tone mile. It is the green mile, death row with quarterback play this year. I like what they've done on defense. They're going to have to do something. I mean, and that first round pick, the second round hole that they have in their draft, I think is killer, because that usually John Robinson finds a lot of value with those type of guys historically, besides Kevin Dodd.
Which Zach, the reason why I was so on board for keeping Julio Jones for one more year was because you did give up that second round pick. It hurts more to not have a second round pick, also knowing you don't have Julio anymore. Even if you save $9.5 million, I would still, in my opinion, I would rather have Julio knowing that I don't have a second round pick, because that's just a spot that I can't fill.
I just don't think that you can sleep at night if you know that you've paid Julio Jones $26 million in 2 years.
I get that too.
Like a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver.
But you at least have an opportunity for the second year to be better.
You can't.
Because you paid him.
They know something, Austin. The Titans know something. They've been around Julio for long enough. They know he's not worth a damn. They just know it. Now, he may be worth a damn with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of being a third wide receiver and replacing Antonio Brown.
He's going to be, Randy Moss came to the Titans and did diddly poo, and then he went to the Niners and actually had a pretty good year.
Yeah, it was okay. But yeah, he's going to go to the Bucs, and he's going to be the third option, and he can do the third option. He could do that. He's not on the field as much.
Again, I still think the Titans should have kept Julio and still draft a wide receiver in the first round. So Julio could have been that 2A, 2B. Like you got one with AJ and Julio in the first round pick be 2A, 2B, and then Nick Westbrook-Ikine being the 4, and you're fine.
All right. I'm going to bring this up.
Okay.
Josh Carroll gets the love of the show today, because I do like this idea.
Okay.
Out of all the things that we have said, and we've said a lot, we've talked about Hooper, Landry, Juju, we've talked about a lot. I think I like this the most. I do. Hooper, I think you have to do. You've got compensatory picks this year, so you have more later round picks. I don't know what it is, if it's a 5th or a 6th or whatever. You trade for Robert Woods. I love that move. If the Titans get Robert Woods is a solid number 2 wide receiver. He runs good routes. He gets open. He's a seasoned veteran. Then, Austin, you can go draft your wide receiver that he can learn under Robert Woods. You don't give up a ton, right? Because he's worth a 5th or a 6th pick. That is my ideal situation, because they just signed Allen Robinson. They don't need him no more. That is exactly what you do. So, right. Josh Carroll.
Let's break that down, because Robert Woods did tear his ACL, And that was, he
A
tore
long
that
time ago.
He tore that in practice right before or after. Did he play against the Titans on that Sunday night? Or did he just tear his ACL? It was, regardless, he tore his ACL in early November. So we're going to count months, right?
Look,
November,
Robert Woods believes he should be cleared in time for minicamp,
which is in June, right? So November, December, January, February, March, April, May,
bingo.
June. 8 months is
November 13th.
Yeah, 8 months is mini camp. So you're got, July and August. So he will be a 10-month ACL guy. When it's similar timeline to Taylor Lewan, though, right? Lewan tore his in mid-October. Robert Woods was mid-November, and Lewan wasn't right until really
Well, that's
October.
because Lewan's a head case. That wasn't because of anything else.
But Lewan's mental recovery. Lewan's mental recovery did come into play, but he also said that he rushed it. Bud Dupree said that he rushed his. And so the Titans had to deal with that. So Robert Woods, sure, every guy who tears his ACL says, yeah, I'm going to be ready in 8 months. Everybody says that when they're on month 4, but it's not about month 4. The first 4 months are actually kind of the easiest. It's the next 4 months, and then the 4 months after that continue to get harder. And so that's just, look, would Robert Woods be better than any 5th or 6th round pick the Titans had this year?
Yeah. You do it regardless. Who gives a damn about his ACL? If he's okay for the playoff push, all you're trying to do is win your division. You're not trying to compete with the AFC, guys. Look, you ain't never going to get that number 1 pick.
Win the AFC South.
That number 1 seed. It's done. It's gone. It's over.
Yep. Just win the South. That's all you got to do.
Beat the Colts twice.
Yep.
And look, I am a little. And I jumped the gun a year, and I will admit my wrongs, and I was wrong about Urban Meyer. I thought he was going to be better than he was, and that guy was awful. But I think Trevor Lawrence will take a step in the right direction this year. I think the Jags will be no slouch. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags beat the Titans one of the 2 games. They steal a game, or they steal a game from the Colts. It could happen to either team. But I think you have got to concentrate on your division and host a home playoff game in the wild card round, advance, and try to get to the Super Bowl. But Robert Woods would help you out because, as you said, Austin, I think you sealed the deal with this. Robert Woods is better than any 5th or 6th round pick, especially if you're drafting a quarterback, that you will ever pick if you're John Robinson.
Well, I mean, he's actually been pretty good in those rounds. But Robert Woods is better.
Hooper and Woods. That's my solution. Man, it took us 20 minutes to get here, but Robert Woods and Hooper are my solutions. Because I don't think you're going to get Juju or
plus first round wide receiver. I don't care about if they don't draft a wide receiver in the first round, I'm going to feel like they whiffed.
Well, or they may, what they would do if they didn't, they'd trade up they'd probably trade their 3rd and a later round pick because they have more of those to get in this. Okay. So, right. They'd pair 2 picks to get into the 2nd round to maybe get a player of need. I mean, this is why I love it. I mean, there's so many different scenarios, but I think we came up with a good one. I'm with you. If you trade for Robert Woods, you get Austin Hooper, and you draft a 1st round wide receiver. Hey, Austin, all of a sudden we don't have a delicate situation anymore.
I mean, it's still, you're still relying on a guy coming off an ACL. But you're still relying on a guy coming off the ACL and a 1st round rookie who hasn't, and you haven't had an impact of 1st round rookie in a long time.
Both of those guys are going to be better than Julio Jones.
As long as they score 2 touchdowns, they'll be fine.
Right?
And Austin Hooper just has to score more than Anthony Firkser did last year.
He recovered a fumble. Did that count as his 3? Like Firkser had 3, right?
Yeah. Well, he had 2 receiving.
And then 1 recovery.
And 1 fumble recovery. Yeah. So you lost that bet.
I got to get a onesie.
Yeah. Well, that's on me. But, you wearing a onesie sitting right there is no big deal. It's when we had a studio and when we were on location a lot more is where the onesie was funny. Yeah. Now it's just like you can barely see your shoulders. Yeah. All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Friday. Let's get to this next topic because I also find this interesting. Where will Deshaun Watson get traded? It's down to 2 teams. But first, Zach, tell us about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. It is quick and easy. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can look at their inventory or take the quick trip down I-40 exit 236. Austin and I take it. It's easy and it's simple. And the best part is they've got your perfect make and model for your vehicle. So if it's a Palisade, man, 3rd row seating, all the bells and whistles, great fuel efficiency, cost effective. That sounds good to me. And that probably sounds good to you and your family. Maybe it's a 4-door sedan like I have with the Sonata. Sonata dominates the streets. I've been telling you that for years. You can dominate the streets with the Hyundai Sonata, brand new, right there. Pain Bone will hook you up with a great deal. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Coming up in an hour and a half, that would be at 10:30 Central Time. We've got A to Z Sports Picks with Alan Bell, Brian Edwards to get you set for the 16 games coming up in college basketball today, starting just after 11 o'clock. So the 10:30 A to Z Sports Picks show presented by BetMGM coming your way to get you set up. They'll both have parlays because BetMGM is giving out their March matchups parlay boost every day. I got mine in my app this morning. I lost it yesterday, but I got to figure out how to win it today. Alan hit his yesterday, and Brian's still in play. So check them out. Also, if you're a new user for BetMGM, download the app, use our code ATOZ200, and you get you get $200 after either team hits a 3-point shot when you place a $10 moneyline wager on that game. So easy steps. Download the app, sign up using code ATOZ200. A $10 moneyline wager on any game today wins you $200 when they hit a 3 in that game. Pretty easy stuff there. What'd you have to add?
BetMGM just sent an email full of really good information. Here's some, look, this is perfect at 9 a.m. Go to your BetMGM Sportsbook and look at this. Insights. This is not a promo. This is just straight facts, homie. Most bet games, most bet teams, and most bet teams by the spread, Loyola Chicago. That is where a lot of the money is coming in versus Ohio State.
The most tickets and the most money on Loyola Chicago today.
Right? So
volume and volume. Volume twice.
There you go.
Yeah, so I find that game very interesting. But also visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days. For problem gambling support, call Tennessee Redline at 800-889-9789. All right, where will Deshaun Watson go? Is it the Saints or is it the Falcons? The NFC South fighting over Deshaun Watson. What's the situation here?
Steven says the Falcons. I'm thinking the Falcons from our 007 agent, Lou Man. Steven says both teams, which doesn't make any sense. Don't Kill John says Falcons QB swap makes sense. But I've heard the rumors that the Texans don't want Matt Ryan. So I don't know if again, the rumors, I don't know how much weight is that. Will Dotson says the Saints. Tyler says Watson is going to the Falcons. Simone says Falcons, Saints because of Sean Payton. Billy, I hate to break the news to you, but Sean Payton's no longer there. So Sean Payton he retired for
Kevin James is now the head coach.
At least. Let's see. Hopefully the Saints, so the Colts don't get Ryan. I think Bama Brad actually has a point right there. Matt Ryan, if he ended up with the Colts, that would be ideal for him, right? He doesn't want to be with the Texans. Falcons because they have picks and Matty Ice, Watson to the ATL, Ryan to the Colts. So Lane is thinking that does make a lot of sense where it is somewhat of a 3-team trade because the desperation of the Colts to get Matt Ryan, who's a seasoned veteran. I don't know. It's kind of Phillip Rivers in his year, a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but has a low ceiling.
Full circle to this conversation, to our first delicate conversation. The reason why the Colts were not in play for that delicate is because they have $70 million of cap space to go bring in whichever quarterback they get, right? So they have the flexibility to do that financially.
What do you think, Austin? Saints or the Colts? Or, the Saints or the Falcons?
If I were Deshaun Watson, I'd want to go to Atlanta. I think Arthur Smith makes sense there. I know Atlanta doesn't have Calvin Ridley or an offensive line or defense, but their defense actually played a lot better.
Wait. What do they not have again?
That was more of a, I said that like tongue in cheek. It's funny. They don't have Calvin Ridley because he was betting on NFL games. They don't have a offensive line that's great.
They also don't have Alvin Kamara.
That's true. But they do have Kyle Pitts.
I know a lot more about Alvin Kamara.
But I think Arthur Smith is better for Deshaun Watson than the defensive head coach the Saints just signed or hired that I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Because all I'm thinking about is the Kevin James, Sean Payton movie. And I can't think of.
Wait, who are you trying to think of?
The Saints' new head coach.
Oh, Dennis Allen. Yeah.
I could picture him with his facial hair. But, yeah, what is Dennis Allen?
I respect a man with good faciil hair. I do respect a man with really quality facial hair.
But I think the Falcons also because Atlanta's home for Deshaun Watson. I think that makes the most sense. So I go with I think he's going to go to the Falcons.
Well, I think the smartest thing that Deshaun Watson has done is that he's going to the NFC South, right? Because you've got 3 bad teams and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady ain't going to play for 2 more years. So the division is yours, essentially, at least for now. I know trades happen and teams draft quarterbacks. I actually go to New Orleans. I think I go to New Orleans because of the defense. I go to New Orleans because of Alvin Kamara. And you have Michael Thomas. I know he's just kind of like disappeared, but he's still, he's only 29 years old. So you still have that. The Saints are probably going to draft offensive weapons for you. The Saints are more ready to win right away. And I think that's what Deshaun Watson needs for his situation. He needs to win because winning cures everything, as we know, even messed up masseuse situations.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can't go to rebuild in Atlanta. He may want to live near Atlanta, but New Orleans, I think they would accept him. I think he would be, he's not trying to replace Drew Brees because they've already had a bridge year. I think New Orleans is the best spot, and I think that's where he will go. I think that's where he should go. I have no idea. I have no idea how Deshaun Watson thinks, nor do I kind of want to know how Deshaun Watson thinks.
Yeah.
But the Saints, that's where you should go. And then I'll settle on that's where I think he will go.
All right. I think Atlanta. So I'm liking the fact that, we're different on this. So we'll see how it goes, but he'll be playing against your Bucks, I'm guessing. There. A to Z Sports here live on this Friday. Let's go ahead and wrap up our Friday with Ain't That Good News. What is your good news this week? And we'll send everybody to a big college basketball weekend. But real quick, let me tell you guys about Renters Warehouse and Renters Warehouse Nashville, the professional landlords in the Nashville area at renterswarehouse.com. Find out how much your home can rent for by going to their website, renterswarehouse.com. They do everything for you. They collect the checks. They find the tenants. They price the property. They do all the tax work. They go on the maintenance calls at every hour of the day. They do it all for you to help build equity and long-term wealth and get retirement plan ready at renterswarehouse.com.
A to Z Sports. Make sure you subscribe to our channel if you're on YouTube and like our page. If you're listening right now, we're about to do good news, but this free agency, the NFL has been awesome, and it truly has. And special shout out to BetMGM throughout the course of the college basketball postseason, that tournament. But subscribe to our channel and like our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. We're putting out more content than we ever have, which is awesome. You guys are taking to it, and we haven't even gotten to the draft month, which is pretty incredible. So more to come. Subscribe to our channel right there at A to Z Sports.
Ain't that good news to send us to the weekend? I will start. I've got 2 good news. I will start first with being able to watch the Kentucky Wildcats and Coach Cal go home, losing to St. Peter's, the Peacocks from St. Peter's, knocking off the Wildcats in overtime last night. I thought it was a great way to wrap up the first day of the tournament. But whenever Kentucky goes down, I love it, especially because Kentucky fans like to talk big trash against Tennessee fans and Tennessee people. And so it's always worth a great golf clap and a laugh when the Wildcats lose to a team that nobody's ever heard of. So that's my first good news.
No, I think I had Kentucky going further. So
I had Kentucky losing to Murray State next round. So I was even more pleased to see them bow out to St. Peter's. I won some money off St. Peter's in February because of BetMGM. I found St. Peter's and Monmouth were good little teams you could ride there in the low level.
At the start of overtime, St. Peter's like plus 380. That's good money, right? Start of overtime, especially the way that Kentucky was playing, which wasn't very good. They were missing shots. My biggest regret of last night, Austin, and I thought about this morning. I actually thought about this during the show. Creighton was down by 4. It was 58-62. This is before overtime. And Creighton was plus 1,200. I don't know if it was a mess up or something. But why didn't I put like $30 or $10 when they were down by 4 and they had like a minute left? And I was like, what a missed opportunity. So both on those games, but Kentucky losing did you see 98% of brackets busted?
Oh, like the perfect brackets. Yeah.
Yeah. There's only 2%. So, I mean, the hedge of the insurance, you remember when, I guess it was Quicken Loans and Warren Buffett did that years ago because they're just smarter than everybody. Yep. They know that your bracket is going to get busted.
Yep. So that's my good news is Kentucky goes down. So Zach, what is your good news?
My good news is something that I have not been able to speak on. Oh. And as a fan of the NFL and a fan of football, I've been lucky these last couple of years. I truly have. And I got even luckier 4 days ago because my good news is I don't have to deal to the depths of Jameis Winston or Josh Freeman or Jeff Garcia or even Chris Sims, who a good friend of mine.
Or Blaine Gabbert.
They couldn't take – they don't have enough. But my guy, Tampa Tom, is back, baby. He's back and better than ever. You can't keep a good man down. And God, that was joy to my heart and to my soul when I heard that he was coming back for another season in Tampa. It wasn't one of those cryptic messages, and I was worried about this, Austin. It wasn't one of those cryptic messages like, I'm returning to football in 2022, setting up for a possible trade to the freaking 49ers.
Right.
He said, I'm playing in Tampa. So my free agency and all that, it was a weight lifted off of the fan in my heart, true to my heart, of their shoulders, that I get another year of watching the greatest quarterback ever to play the game, play for my favorite team ever in my life. That is my good news. God, that was good news. Man, yeah. I feel good. My Friday, I just got a jolt of energy talking about this. Yeah. Yes.
No, that was good. It was good for A to Z Sports Tampa Bay as well. Good for business and good for Zach's heart for sure. All right, A to Z Sports, to wrap up this week, my second good news, a little bit of an emotional situation. So last Friday, we did not have a show because my grandfather passed away that Thursday night. And so yesterday was when we did lay him to rest and had a long day, a good day, but a long day of a service, the burial, and then a celebration of life. So what I wanted to say about my grandfather, who Zach got to know pretty well, is that whenever you start a business, you never started by yourself. And my grandfather started his first business when he was like 26, 27, back in the early 60s, opening up a cabinet and kitchen company. And so Zach and I created this business when I was 26. And, you always have family to help you out. When my grandfather was 26, his wife's dad helped him get going in his business. And it kind of comes full circle because, Zach, I know how much your parents, sacrificed and helped out to get us going. my wife's made sacrifices, my parents have made sacrifices, but my grandfather, my grandmother really did help us quite a bit get this thing going. And so, him passing, he's had cancer the last couple of years, but he's no longer in pain. And I don't think anybody really knew how much pain he was in the last few months. But I did want to say that because, businesses don't just happen just out of nowhere. It takes a community, it takes a family to help people be successful. And so I did want to mention that because of how much he meant to me, how much he meant to what A to Z Sports has been able to become. And so I did want to wrap up our week by saying that. And so he meant a lot to me. I was his back pocket buddy when I was a kid, going around the different job sites and houses he was building. And so I just wanted to say that about my grandfather. So Bobo, hope you're resting easy.
Yeah, and I'll second that. On top of all the things that he has done for Austin and I through the business side of things, I think the thing that I cherished, and I told your grandmother this yesterday, of what kind of man he was. I got to actually know him and just see the kind heart and the person that he was, based on even talk to your dad and others. And I had a chance to talk to his best friend from high school yesterday for a little bit. And it resonates. It's never easy when you lose a loved one, especially one that impacts your life as I think your grandfather did. And so rest easy, as they say, and he's in a better place. And we do appreciate, and I appreciate everything that him and your grandmother have done for us to get to where we are today. Right. And I think you said it very eloquently. You can't do this on your own. Everybody needs help. And when you look back and you look at who has helped you in the past, I think it just means more.
So I just wanted to wrap up the week on that. Hope everybody enjoys the basketball coming up. We do have A to Z Sports Picks coming up with Alan and Brian, presented by BetMGM at 10:30. So get ready for that. 10:30 Central Time. They'll help you get right for these games coming up. So thanks a bunch. And thank you to everybody else who has sent a message or commented on the show, responded to a social media post. It really does mean a lot, and it's helped out this week. It's been a long week, but yesterday was a good day. So thanks to everybody. Hope everybody has a great, safe weekend, and we'll see you on Monday morning. Appreciate it.
Adios.